Welcome to a review of the environmental strategy for personality theories.
This review contains definitions and a summary of key points in the environmental strategy.
Antecedents.
In operant conditioning, the stimuli including situational, temporal and interpersonal cues present before the target behavior occurs.
Behavior therapy.
Any psychotherapy technique or combination of techniques derived from the behavioral approach.
Behaviorism.
An approach within the environmental strategy that focuses on external, directly observable factors determinants of personality.
Consequences.
In operant conditioning, the events or outcomes that occur as a result of target behaviors being performed.
Discriminative stimuli.
A stimulus that signals that a response is now appropriate and likely to be reinforced.
Fear of power.
From Winter, that portion of power motive that seeks to avoid giving others power over oneself, versus hope of power.
Hope of power.
From Winter, that portion of the power motive that seeks to gain power versus fear of power.
Implicit motives.
From McClelland, primitive, unconscious motives, said to be more like animal drives than like conscious goals.
Interpersonal cues.
The presence of specific behaviors that serve to trigger target behavior.
Maintaining conditions.
From behavior therapy, the factors that are currently reinforcing the target behavior.
Methodological behaviorism.
An approach that emphasizes objectivity, direct observation of phenomena, precise definitions, and controlled experimentation.
Models.
An exemplar of behavior from which others may learn by observing.
Motivational types.
Patterns of behavior that associated with clusters of motives instead of with a single motive.
Motive.
A desire to satisfy a particular need.
Motive to avoid success.
From Horner, anxiety about the negative consequences of success.
Need.
From Murray, tendency to seek or produce particular effects or temporary end states.
Nomothetic.
Pertaining to people in general.
Observational learning.
The process by which the behavior of one person is changed through observing the behavior of another, rather than through direct experience that occurs in classical or operant conditioning.
Operant conditioning.
Learning process in which a behavior is strengthened or weakened by its consequences.
Press.
From Murray, an environmental circumstance that influences behavior.
Radical behaviorism.
A pattern of reinforcement in which the reinforcer is received after a certain number of responses have been made.
Setting events.
Those conditions that, when present, increase the likelihood of occurrence of specific behaviors. Thirst, for example, is a setting event for drinking, whereas the presence of water may act as a discriminative stimulus for drinking.
Situation specific.
A given behavior may be restricted to a particular setting or set of circumstances.
Situational cues.
The location and context where target behaviors are likely to occur and which may serve to elicit the behavior.
Social constructions.
Environmentally driven consensual dictates of appropriate behavior.
Social roles.
All of the behaviors and attitudes construed as appropriate for a specific, socially defined group or status.
The following are key points regarding the environmental strategy.
A need is a requirement. A motive is the desire to satisfy the need.
Implicit motives are more primitive than explicit motive.
There are two faces to motivation: approach tendencies and avoidance tendencies.
Murray distinguished two types of environmental influence: alpha press, objective circumstances, and beta press, subjective interpretation of circumstances.
On the TAT, story material that differentiated subjects exposed to varying degrees of achievement arousal were defined as measures of need for achievement.
The correlation between the amount of children's stories and the later economic development is quite significant. It is plus 0.53, which is impressively high.
McClelland did not attempt to teach people achievement motivation and found that it was an innate individual difference.
At work, high-need achievers push themselves to their fullest potential, quickly pass over easy tasks to difficult ones, and show increased effort as time runs out.
Horner spoke of the motive to avoid success.
Women whose parents are divorced or separated show higher need for achievement than those from intact homes.
Need for power, like need for achievement, can be measured by thematic analysis of any verbal material.
Students high in the fear of power prefer essay exams over multiple choice or objective exams.
Control of people, possession, and situations is the central concern of those high in need for power.
Individuals high in the need for power do not prefer to have friends who are popular or well-known.
Those high in need for power take more risks than other people.
High need for power individuals are more reactive to power stress because they have had less experience with it.
Men with a high need for power seek dependent wives.
Women with a high need for power are more likely to engage in helping behavior than other women.
The need for power appears to play an important role in problem drinking and alcoholism.
Persons high in need for power and high in need for intimacy tend to be self-doubting.
According to Murray, behavior is affected by both needs and press.
Hope of power and fear of power show a slightly negative correlation.
Compared to other women, women high in need for power are more likely to be helpful. A recent trend in need and motive research has been to look for motivational types.
Now we will finish up the following terms and definitions. Systematic desensitization.
Role-play behavior therapy based on counter-conditioning. The client is gradually exposed to increasingly anxiety-evoking stimuli while making a response that is essentially incompatible with anxiety.
Systematic observation.
A scientific method of observing behavior in precisely defined circumstances, time periods, or situations for the purpose of objective measurement.
Target behavior.
In behavior therapy, the specific behaviors that the client and therapist are trying to encourage, eliminate, or modify.
Temporal cues.
Identifying the time of the target behavior as an antecedent for therapy designed to change the behavior.
We hope you have enjoyed this summary of the key terms and points from the environmental strategy as it is applied to personality theory.